Father Tom gave a great talk. I recognized some of the prayers that he was using in that book at the beginning of his talk. Father Wienberger wrote that book, and he had someone from his own town where he grew up help him write that book, assemble that book. That would be Father Philip Wolf. So they both grew up there together, and maybe you saw that movie, Father Stu, and they both knew Father Stu. So far, we've seen people who have been canceled. Father Wienberger and Mother Miriam seem to be going the same route, St. Louis, Tulsa, and after the cancellation there, Father Wienberger went to Denver, and Mother Miriam came here. Yesterday, I said Mass at the Missionaries of Charity, and the Missionaries of Charity, I've been working with them over about 30 years now, and they send their prayers for Bishop Strickland, as so many of us do. Father Wolf has been a real inspiration to me. He's been an exorcist over 20 years, but he would never say that. But I'm not Father Wolf, so I can say it. But Father Wolf and Father Terrence Gordon. Father Gordon died a few months ago. I think it was at the beginning of April. And what a great priest. So they're both members of the same congregation, the Fraternity of St. Peter. And they both knew a priest they were trying to help. And they brought it to the attention of all the right people. Father Wolf got canceled. Father Gordon got put under tremendous pressure. I believe that that incident brought about the early death of Father Gordon. And I believe the reason why Father Wolf and Father Gordon were not successful is because so many lay people they knew would not lift a finger. Not a finger. Did I mention finger? I think I did. And so, this is truth in advertising here, right? Black and white. I'm the skunk at the wedding. Okay, so I'm the skunk at the wedding. And trying to get a brother priest help. That priest went on and eventually left the priesthood. Father Gordon died in early death, and Father Wolf has been canceled, kind of like when Jesus cured the leper. And he and the leper traded places. Now Jesus was out in the wilderness. That's what's going to happen if people don't stand up, lay people. And yes, I'm talking to you. Exactly. So, Father Wolf, if you type in Our Lady of Revelation, you are in for a treat. Our Lady of Revelation in YouTube, a 9-part series by Father Wolf on YouTube, free. And he mentions in there, I think it's part 2, Mongolia, and how probably the king of modernism, Father Teilhard de Chardin, was in the Mongolian desert almost 100 years ago, 1927. And Father Wolf just points out how he was this Jesuit who embraced modernism, was so infatuated with the God of the earth. In 1947, Father de Chardin was in Rome, kind of taking a victory lap because he had been exiled to Mongolia. I mean, can you get any further away from civilization than Mongolia? He was now in Rome, taking a victory lap, and it was in 1947 that Our Lady of Revelation, who also can be called Our Lady of the Earth, appeared, and she appeared for 50 years. You're in for a treat. I watched those 9 videos, and I go over and over again. So you're in for a treat. In Mongolia, Mongolia's most famous inhabitant killed over 40 million people in his country, Genghis Khan. I do not understand how Pope Francis today could praise Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan lived about 800 years ago and killed 40 million people. How many of those people would have had children and then had children and then had children? I don't understand it. So right about the same time that Genghis Khan lived and died, he died in August of, 800 years ago, 1227. They were building the pyramids in Mexico City. Now this is in, say, the 1300s, the 1400s, and they built the pyramids using slave labor. This is in the 1300s and 1400s. Columbus came in 1492. In 1492, I bet you money, if you ask anybody under 15 today to repeat that, they couldn't answer it. Homeschoolers don't count, and if you're homeschooling, you know you don't count. So 5 years before Columbus discovered America, at one of those pyramids in Mexico City, the one dedicated to the rain god Tlaloc, there was a 4-day sacrifice, night and day for 4 days. 80,000 men, women, and children were sacrificed on top of that pyramid. The pyramid is vast. It is incredibly vast, and so many stories high. And nonstop for 4 days, this human sacrifice took place. And they had Aztec priests who were working in shifts to make the sacrifice continuous for 4 days. And the people the Aztecs would capture, they would force them to be the sacrifices. All of this took place before the first European set foot in what is today North America, the continental North America. So on Good Friday, 1519, the Europeans arrived. Well, they arrived on Holy Thursday. They got out of their boats on Good Friday, and that's why they named the place Vera Cruz, the true cross. So the Americas were established on Good Friday, 1519. I tried getting the attention of so many bishops on April 22nd, 2019, to mark the 500th anniversary of that. I felt like Lassie on Sunday night. Now, I'm too young to remember Lassie in the original. But every Sunday night, Lassie would, at the end of the show, Lassie would run up to the front porch and start barking. What a beautiful dog. And June Lockhart would come out with a wet plate, and she would dry off the plate. I think she had a log cabin full of wet plates. Can you imagine, though? She went from there to Lost in Space. And Lassie would start barking at June. Well, what's the matter, girl? Arr, 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 arr. Is there a forest fire? Arr, 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 arr. Is Billy trapped in the mine? Arr, arr, arr. Okay, I'll follow you. And she followed her in a station wagon, whatever that is. So nobody, let's be honest, nobody celebrated the 500th anniversary of the first moment in modern North America. We all live in modern North America, right? Modern North America. So what's the first moment in modern North America? April 22nd, 1519. First moment in modern North America. Remember, I'm from Mexico, Dallas, right? So in 2031, it will be the 500th anniversary of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I will tell you what happened on May the 13th, 2017, the 100th anniversary of Our Lady of Fatima. Couple sitting at the breakfast table, and he's reading the newspaper, she's doing the work. There you go, right? It says, oh, honey, look, today is the centennial of Our Lady of Fatima. She says, oh, I love Our Lady of Fatima. And he said, me too. And then the next question, the most important question, the question you knew he was going to ask. What's for lunch? December 12th, 2031. Oh, that's how women talk. Oh, it's the 500th anniversary of Our Lady Guadalupe. Is that today? Wow. Next question. Okay, I would bet, I guarantee it, because I'm a human being too. See, I went to Mexico. I said Mass in front of the image of Our Lady Guadalupe. In fact, this image was blessed by John Paul II. If you touch this image, he gave it the blessing that if you touch this image, it is equal to touching that image in Mexico City. So I went there on December 13th, 1992. I said Mass at the altar. I was right below there. I have the T-shirt, the ball cap, and the coffee mug, and I still didn't know Our Lady of Guadalupe's story. It was essentially, most Catholics know Our Lady of Guadalupe this way, like Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Juan Diego was on his way to Grandma's house with a basket of goodies. And then he saw Our Lady of Guadalupe, and everybody says, oh, that's so beautiful. That's wrong. You know, over a year ago, a movie came out, What is a Woman? Right? And they still can't answer that. Here we're coming up on 2031, when North America, South America, and Central America, there was only one bishop. He was a Franciscan, Zumarraga. And he's the one, Our Lady didn't appear to a bishop. Our Lady appeared to a man, a widower, a man who probably had children and lost them too. And it was a Sunday morning, so he had to walk over 20 miles to Mass on Saturday morning. It wasn't for Sunday. It wasn't the Sunday evening Mass on Saturday. I mean, Saturday evening Mass for Sunday. And that's when St. Juan Diego met Our Lady of Guadalupe. I had always heard, before I did the studies on Our Lady of Guadalupe, that St. Juan Diego did not want to go and talk to the bishop. Our Lady of Guadalupe asked him to go and talk to the bishop. And I'd always been told, oh, my Spanish, it's no so good, right? No, St. Juan Diego was born here. He was the new guy, right? Some of the men who came from Spain were good men and women. Some were terrible. Just like in this crowd today, there is the mix. Here, the good and the bad are in the world, and we should recognize that. So some of the bad men said in 1531, if we see you talking to the bishop or to a priest or to one of the brothers, we will kill you. We will kill you. So Our Lady didn't just ask once, but twice, 3 times. So he risked his life for Our Lady of Guadalupe. And Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared to him and asked him to talk to the bishop for a chapel to be established there. And that image has lasted 500 years longer than it should have. It should last maybe 10 years, at the tops 20. But remember, everybody, he didn't have a wife and a man taking care of clothes by himself. You can cut the average life expectancy of the clothing in half, right? So the bishop never saw Our Lady of Guadalupe. There is a book that you need to get, Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Conquest of Darkness. It's 100 pages. It's tremendous. I read that book, and then I handed it to Deacon Ismael Guerra. I've been working with Deacon Ismael Guerra, a permanent deacon, since 1989 when I was assigned to St. Augustine's in Pleasant Grove in Dallas. So he was born in Monterrey, Mexico. I was born in Dallas, Mexico. So Deacon Ismael reads like crazy. So I gave him this book. He was about 50 years old. So I said, read this book. He read the book. I said, have you ever heard that before? Never. Never. Most people are not concerned about that. Their one big question is, there you go. Look at me. I mean, you can tell I don't miss lunch. So from 1519 to 1531, there were 200,000 baptisms in Mexico. Only a priest or a bishop could baptize at that time. 200,000 baptisms in 12 years is pretty good. By the way, by the time the Pilgrims came along 101 years later, there were 5 European quality universities in Mexico City, but it doesn't count. You know why? They're Mexican. That's right, they're Mexican. It doesn't count if it's in Mexico. 5 European-style universities operating in Mexico City when they were freezing at Plymouth Rock. And it doesn't count because they're Catholic. They're Mexican. Both. There you go. So, and after Bishop Zumárraga died, and believe it or not, St. Juan Diego and Bishop Zumárraga died just days apart, less than a week. I think it was 14 years after this miracle. So you got the number of baptisms in Mexico between 1519 and 1531. Let me tell you something you've never heard. From 1531, over the next 10 years, over 9 million baptisms in Mexico took place, and it doesn't count. And you know why? Thank you. You can't say that. Okay, then the people who weren't Mexican living in Mexico over that 10-year period, there you go. No, they were Mexican. We call people in Texas Texans. We call people in Mexico Mexicans. We call people in Oklahoma, oh, wait a minute, we don't call people in Oklahoma. I'm from Texas, okay? So the first bishop died, and he was a Franciscan. The second bishop was a Dominican because the Pope was Pope St. Pius V. Dr. Smith, I've known her for 25 years. And Dr. Smith, if you're still here, I'll pay you the rest of that money. Okay, anyway, so the Bishop of Mexico was a Dominican, Montúfar, and he heard the call of Pope St. Pius V to pray the rosary because the Muslims were like a steamroller, undefeated steamroller. The Turks, we'll call them the Turks. The Turkish Muslims, the Turks, had gone from the Holy Land, and they captured the largest city in the world at the time, Constantinople. And they said they were going to do the same thing to Rome that they had done to Constantinople in 1571. So the Pope at the time did the impossible. He started asking Catholics to pray the rosary. Come on, let's just admit it. We don't pray the rosary. We don't pray the rosary enough. And so, so the people started praying the rosary. And he started asking countries to get together, to get a league together, a naval league, a flotilla of boats, and they all met in Sicily, that island. You know, Italy looks like a boot, and in front of the boot is a soccer ball. Looks like a soccer ball, doesn't it? And so they all met on Sicily, and the Holy Roman Emperor's illegitimate son was in charge of these ships. And they were pulling away when a ship arrived from Mexico. And on board was the first official copy of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The bishop had requested an artist paint the first image, and he did. And then the bishop blessed it. And then the bishop touched it to the tilma, the original in Mexico City, and off it went to the Pope. It got as far as Sicily. And Don Juan de Asturias, in charge of the whole kit and caboodle, they came back to shore, and he took Our Lady of Guadalupe on board with him and put her in his cabin. And then they left Sicily and they went around Italy up to Greece looking for the Turkish fleet. Good luck, like finding a needle in a haystack. They had all the best ships. They all spoke the same language. They were rested. They had plenty of money, and they had never been defeated. On October the 7th, 1571, almost exactly 40 years after Our Lady appeared to St. Juan Diego, on October 7th, 1571, the first face the Turks saw that morning off the coast of Greece at Lepanto was that face. He put her at the front of the ship, and everything turned around. Everything was against the Catholic fleet. Everything went in favor of the Catholics from that moment on. Now, when I was a kid, if we heard the phone ringing, we ran inside into the hallway, and there on a shelf was a phone, and we picked up the phone. If we wanted to make a call, we had to go inside to that shelf, pick up the phone, and dial a number. You tell that to kids born in the last 10 years, they look at you like you're crazy. If you tell kids that we haven't always had TVs this big, right? They look at you like you're crazy. We've always had. Okay. On October 7th, 1571, when that battle was taking place 1,000 miles or so away from the Pope, Pope St. Pius V had a vision. He had a big screen moment, right? They should have made him the patron saint of television. And he described how the battle was going off the coast of Lepanto in Greece. Weeks later, when the men came home, it was exactly as he had described. And the sailors came back and said, yeah, we won. Yeah, we know, it's old news, right? So the Pope ordered a sculptor to make a statue commemorating the victory of Catholics over the Turks, and she was called Our Lady of Victory. And then he changed it to Our Lady of the Rosary. Friends, that is Our Lady of Victory. That is Our Lady of the Rosary. Okay. If you type into a search engine San Stefano de Aveto, Stefano, S-T-E-F-A-N-O, space, the letter D, apostrophe, space, A-V-E-T-O, and you look at images, you will find that image in the north of Italy, just outside of Turin, where the shroud is. They have cherished that Mexican image since 1571. And Catholics are so enthralled that all together Catholics say, what's for lunch? That's it. Oh, it's so riveting, so miraculous. What's for lunch? Okay, so this medal, you see the medal I have here, I got this on August the 5th. A friend of mine from Lourdes, brought it back from Lourdes. I started wearing it on August the 6th. This is a great conversation starter. If I'm the grocery store, I can say to somebody I never met, okay, now cover the other eye. Right, there you go. And so many of you, I'm going to make a guess here. Look, I'm Kreskin. Most of you have miraculous medals, and everybody would say, raise their hand, they have a miraculous medal, and almost nobody wears them. Yeah, okay, Rat's a ruck, It don't work if you've got it in a drawer, right? So I believe that this is marketing. When I was a kid in the 60s, they said, location, location, location. Marketing, marketing, location. The Catholic Church, if we're honest, is terrible about marketing. We have the Blessed Sacrament. We have adoration. We have confession. Isn't that lousy marketing? Welcome to the Catholic Church. So I'm going to tell you how you must begin to market Our Lady. Oh, and your non-Catholic friends will just think that you have just stepped into the bear trap. So here's how you start. You say, I don't believe anybody should honor Mary. I don't believe anybody should respect her. I don't believe anybody should honor or respect Mary any more or any less than Jesus does. And then, in a very humble way, you do the Snoopy dance, right? I don't believe anyone. Then you ask him this question. Mother Miriam is, I remember her when she was Miss Rosalind Moss. I've been following her. I'm surprised I haven't been accused of stalking her. I've been following Mother Miriam since she was Rosalind Moss because she was always so on the fence, unopinionated. Was Jesus a Jew? Yeah. Okay, did Jesus have to obey the 10 Commandments? One of those commandments is honor your father and your mother. So now that Jesus is in heaven, does he honor her? Of course, he honors her and loves her. And you shouldn't honor her. You shouldn't love her. You shouldn't respect her any more or any less than Jesus does. Hand grenade going off, right? Father Shannon Collins loves Our Lady so much. He was a father of mercy. He's now up in Kentucky. If you ever get online, look up Father Shannon Collins and send him some money. I'm serious. He does great work. But he said, he met a man one time. He said, that's the problem with you Catholics. You love Mary too much. You honor Mary too much. And he said, that's impossible. It is impossible to honor her too much. It is impossible to love her too much. So my favorite conversation was on Catholic radio, and Virgin Most Powerful, what a great radio station. Father Wienberger loves that title in the litany of Our Lady of Loretto. So this woman called in. She wasn't Catholic, but she's got lots of Catholic friends. And she said, again, this is how women talk. I have lots of friends who are Catholic, and all they do is talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I say, where's Jesus? And I would say, right there. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I was still role playing. Right there. Okay, look at Our Lady's hands. Right under Our Lady of Guadalupe's hands is a bow that's attached to a belt all the way around. Now, women understand why the belt is so high, because when a woman is pregnant, the belt either goes higher or it falls to the ground. Right? So there's a woman who is about to give birth. And it's funny because yesterday I'm sitting on the front row, and I'm looking at her hands, and I'm thinking about this medal. I'm thinking, you know what? That's just about the size of her hands. And the reason why you don't wear your miraculous medal, or the reason why you don't carry a rosary on your person every day, you never make the connection between this or this and her hand. We're like that commercial when we get nervous, we just start shaking. Yo quiero, Taco Bell. Remember, I was born in Mexico. The next time you're nervous, why don't you grab her hand or grab her other hand? This is just about the size of her hands. When I was pastor of Blessed Sacrament, I saw women go up and pray and cry in front of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and then different women, they always reached up and touched the image. And it took me about 10 years. Sorry, ladies, but I'm a man, so I'm kind of slow. And I realized they're touching her hands. They're reaching up to hold her hand. I felt like Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan. What? After 10 years, I finally got it. And you laugh at me, and I laugh right back at you. Because you don't carry a rosary, and you don't carry a miraculous medal. Oh, Father, I've got a miraculous medal, and it's on my rearview mirror. Fine. Put it on a chain and put the rearview mirror around your neck. Last night when Dr. Janet Smith, before Dr. Janet Smith was talking, Terry Barber got up and read from something that servant of God, Father John Hardin, who served many years before he died in Detroit. On October the 2nd, 1997, a servant of God, Father John Hardin, came to Dallas and he gave a talk at Blessed Sacrament, and the place was packed because they knew he was coming. So this is what Terry Barber read last night. Now, if you look at Our Lady of Guadalupe's hands, right behind her hands is her Immaculate Heart. If you have never read Fatima for Today, you need to get a copy either on Audible, Kindle, or the paperback. Fatima for Today by Father Andrew Apostoli, the one who was the one responsible for the process of canonization of St. Fulton Sheen. Now that he's dead, I don't know who's going to be taking care of mine. It probably won't be the Diocese of Dallas. I didn't tell you, but since January of 2020, I've been working like a Trojan to get transferred to Tyler. And you can see how successful I've been. This is the first time I've been to Tyler since I came over on February 11th and saw Bishop Strickland. I signed up for the seminary. I was 23 years old, and I signed up, and the priest said, on Sunday, I want you to go to Christ the King Parish and listen to this young man give a talk about life in the seminary. And the guy who gave that talk is now the Bishop of Tyler. He's much older than I am, I think 7 months. He's 64, I'm still 29. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yesterday, Terry Barber read from Servant of God, John Hardin. So behind Our Lady's hands is what? Her Immaculate Heart. Below her belt is what? The Most Sacred Heart. Are you watching? Okay, put your sunglasses on. Okay, here we go. Here at the bottom, the back row, y'all can probably see it, right? Immaculate Heart on this side. Okay, Sacred Heart. Okay, cover the other eye. Okay, there we go. Good. Yeah. See, in the last century, in 1931, she did not have a party for her 400th anniversary. Why? Because the government of Mexico was killing Catholics. It's true. I saw the movie put out by the Knights of Columbus for Greater Glory. Our country not only sent planes down to help the government of Mexico kill Mexican Catholics, but Calvin Coolidge did not want to send the planes down and leave them. American pilots did the shooting. I love Calvin Coolidge. I don't like that about Calvin Coolidge. So on November 14th, 1921, a friend of the President of Mexico went into the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and Sunday Mass was going on, and it looked like something from January 6th. On one side was Ray Epps, and on the other side was Ray Epps. So they were all in plain clothes, and the guy in the middle was walking forward with this big bouquet of flowers, and he put it in front of Our Lady's image. And then they left in a hurry. Soon after that, a bomb went off in the flowers. The marble all around Our Lady's image was demolished. A big bronze crucifix was just bent over like taffy. And Our Lady's image was not damaged at all. All the windows in the basilica were blown out. The place was very crowded. Nobody was injured. The bishops of Mexico actually took down the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe and replaced it with a copy. They hid the original because the government of Mexico was coming after the Catholics. Their own government was against them. Times are so different. And so think about it. Nobody, and people, when you hear that, you think, oh, it's terrible, that's terrible. What's for lunch? What's for dinner? So Our Lady of Guadalupe did not have a party. Now, this next one, I got to say that Father Tom Hoare, who just got up here, I have never met anyone so brave. I looked on this chart that he made up. This is great. And I looked all around it, and guess what I did not find on this sheet? His name. That's pretty smart, Father. That's pretty smart. He mentioned yoga. Oh, wow. And just want to let you know, you will not be seeing Father Tom anymore this weekend because he's now on the Federal Witness Protection Program. He mentioned yoga. Well, wait a minute, yoga's fine. Okay, talk to Father Tom. So there are so many. Okay, this is parallel with yoga. So I'm gonna go straight to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 when I say this. There are so many apparitions of Our Lady which are not approved. No one here but us chickens, right? Yeah. There are so many apparitions of Our Lady which are not approved. We have 7 years left before her 500th anniversary. Anytime anyone gives any attention to anyone, any image of Our Lady that is not yet approved, you're stealing from her. Pope Francis went to Mexico and preached right next door to Santa Muerte. Remember a woman being interviewed. Oh, there's a little baby. She says, next week, I'm going to baptize my baby to Santa Muerte, Holy Death. We're losing Mexico. We're losing Our Lady because other unapproved apparitions of Our Lady are crowding her out. 7 years are left. Mexico is struggling against the drug traffickers, the cartels, so many things. She's not going to have a party in 2031. And if we are not marketing location on her, she's not going to have her party. In your own family, you're not doing the marketing. How many kids in your family know these things about Our Lady Guadalupe? See miracles. But yesterday, Terry Barber, quoting servant of God, Father John Hardin, he said this, now look over there at Our Lady, look under her hands, and beneath the belt, right in there is the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And this is what Father Hardin wrote. Jesus is in the Eucharist with his human mind, united with his divinity. Jesus is in the Eucharist with his hands and feet, his face and features. Jesus is there with his eyes and lips and ears and nostrils, with his affections and emotions, and with emphasis, his living, pulsating, physical, sacred heart. I have lots of friends, and all they talk about is Our Lady Guadalupe, Our Lady Guadalupe. And I just want to ask them, where's Jesus? He's right there, and you never tell them that. And it's on you, not me. We don't honor, we don't love her enough. That's impossible. Jesus loves her and honors her in heaven, and I can't do that. That's crazy. The December 12th, 1531 is totally connected to Jesus and Holy Communion, Jesus and the Eucharist. So in 1519, Cortez and his men landed, less than 1,000 men against over 20 million Aztecs. The Aztecs were great at two things: government and war. So here's what the Aztecs did centuries before Cortez. They would get their government to build an army. The army would attack their neighbor. They would win. They would tell their neighbors, either you're Aztecs or we will kill you. I'm an Aztec. Then they would take the army and the new slaves and go over here to the other neighbor, and they would do the same. I'm an Aztec. Yeah, don't kill me. I'm an Aztec. And they grew to over 20 million at the time that Cortez and his men came. So Cortez marched from Veracruz, the first moment in modern North America, April 22nd, 1519, and arrived in Mexico City on November 8th, 1519. Dr. Smith has been doing this her whole life because John Paul II talked about the culture of life and the culture of death. General Cortez met Emperor Montezuma. The moment they shook hands, it was the culture of life meeting the culture of death in those two leaders. Cortez, with less than 1,000 men, took Montezuma prisoner. Okay, good news, bad news. Good news, you've got him, you're a prisoner. Bad news, you're surrounded by 20 million Aztecs. What are you going to do? For about 6 weeks, Cortez and his men stayed in a palace that was the palace of Montezuma's father. They had everything. They had everything. They had everything. They found treasures there. And so after about 6 weeks, the men are getting soft, but not Cortez. They had windows, but there was nothing covering the windows. Right outside their windows was a pyramid. And every day, the Aztec priests continued to sacrifice men, women, and children, but especially babies. And so from December 9th to December 12th, it was a time, if you look up Tlaloc, T-L-A-L-O-C, and Wikipedia, from December 9th over 3 weeks, there was a period where the Aztec priests nonstop sacrificed babies. So after about 3 days of that, Cortez got a group of men together, and they left the palace. They went to the bottom of this Aztec pyramid of Tlaloc, the rain god. And he said to his men, this is December 12th, 1519, he said, we must risk something for God. And he led his men up several stories to the top of that pyramid. He threw down the Aztec gods. He ran off the Aztec priests. Ladies, you will appreciate this, and some of the men might take the hint. The Aztec priests were covered in blood from the human sacrifice, even in their hair, and they never bathed. You could probably smell the Aztec priest before you could see him. This is the sign. This is a sign for the wife to do this to her husband. Right. So Then the Franciscan priests cleaned up a spot on top of that Aztec skyscraper, or as John Paul II would call it, a skyscraper, right? There you go. And the first Mass was offered on top of an Aztec pyramid on December 12, 1519. 12 years later, on December 12, 1531, God left us Our Lady of Guadalupe and her image. So many people get it wrong. So many people get it wrong. Some of the songs, I love the songs of Our Lady, that Our Lady left us her image. No, she didn't. She can't give us anything. Some people say Our Lady came to Mexico. No, she didn't. What? When Jesus went to the front door to answer it, she went down the back stairs? Some people say Our Lady left us her image. Yeah, the first selfie. How stupid. How stupid is that? All of these things don't make sense. And you wonder why Protestants don't understand how we can buy this stuff. No. And God gave us Our Lady on the 12th anniversary of the first Mass on top of an Aztec pyramid. Cortez and his men risked everything. But Cortez and his men finally conquered the Aztecs in August of 1521. And just like today, just like in the church, just like in government too, civil government, you make so much progress, it's so hard fought, and then you blow it. You don't drop the ball, you spike it. And there was about to be another civil war when Our Lady appeared. Again, but from 1519 to 1531, 200,000 baptisms in Mexico. Impressive. From 1531 to 1541, over 9 million. Over 9 million. Never in the history of the world, never in the history of the world has that ever happened. And I've never heard those words come out of somebody from Mexico. Catholics aren't impressed. The fact that God left us our image, that this miraculous image, and then backed it up with over 9 million. The 9 million baptisms were a blessing and a curse, especially for the bishop and the priests. People came in from all over Mexico and said, we want to be baptized. And the priest said, well, you're going to have to wait in line. And, 1,000 people would say, okay, we're just going to sit right here until we're baptized. No, go back. No, we traveled for weeks. We're not leaving here. Just like your brother-in-law the last time. Remember when he came and he wouldn't leave? Exactly. The priest and the bishop actually wrote Rome asking permission to shorten the baptism rite, and Rome said no. So 9 million, over 9 million were baptized, and nobody cares. And how do I know it? Because you don't know it. Well, who am I, Kreskin, right? I can't read minds. Thank you, Lord. We need to do better at marketing. In 2030, on November 27th, it'll be the 200th anniversary of the miraculous medal. And I think our Lord gave this medal to Our Lady so that we could hold her hand, so that she could be a witness to us of how much God loves us and how much she loves us. All of you parents and grandparents want your children and grandchildren to go to heaven. She wants your children and grandchildren to heaven more than you do. And Catholics are so impressed that after they hear that, they always say, oh, that's so beautiful. I would love to walk into our Hallmark card store and get one that says, what's for lunch? So friends, we have just over 7 years. We have to admit to God, Our Lady, and to others, we've done a terrible job marketing Our Lady of Guadalupe. God has never given anyone his mother's image the way he gave Mexico, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. If we're honest, nobody cares. Now, some people do. That would be 1 part of 1% of Catholics in the world. The first trip that John Paul II made as Pope, that year we had 3 popes, remember? We had Paul VI, John Paul I, and John Paul II. Why did we have 3 popes that year? They were on sale. And so after he became Pope in October, in January, end of January 1978, first Pope to come to Mexico was John Paul II. And he went right to see her. And he's the one who canonized St. Juan Diego, the priest who built the new basilica, was in charge of the old basilica. And he had been in charge since around 1960 until about the year 2000. I think it was 96. Archbishop Guillermo Schulenberg de Prato. Those Germans are everywhere. Oh, wait a minute, I'm German. If you type in Guillermo Schulenberg de Prato, you will find, and Wiki, you will find a 1-paragraph account. And there, even Wikipedia gets it right. The man who was in charge of the old basilica and Our Lady's image, and the new basilica and Our Lady's image, went around telling people into one of these, Juan Diego never existed, never was born. Do you see kind of a little problem? Monsignor Eduardo Chavez worked like a Trojan to get St. Juan Diego canonized. And essentially, the day they're in Rome, they decided to canonize St. John Paul II and Monsignor Eduardo Chavez and a handful of others said yes. Everybody else said no. Don't you love the Catholic Church? And John Paul II said yes. And so he had terrible Parkinson's disease. He got on a plane, 2002. He went to Mexico. He died in 2005. First Pope ever to go to Mexico. It was his first official trip out of Mexico. We have been blessed, and we don't even know it. We've been blessed with Our Lady. Our Lady brings us her Son. She is the patroness of the unborn. She said to St. Juan Diego, therefore she's saying to me, am I not of your kind? Is there anything else I can do for you? I'm human being, just like you. Is there anything I can do for you? And most Catholics would just say, yeah, what's for lunch? That's the level we exist on. Today, Our Lady would have to appear on the phones of everybody, right? Because that's where everybody's looking. Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Conquest of Darkness. Dr. Warren Carroll, the founder of Christendom College, wrote that book. And if you can't get it, it's about to be reprinted. I think Sophia Press is going to reprint it. But it's 100 pages. We have the problems today sound like the problems back then. When the first bishop of Mexico died and the new one came in, Montúfar, he was a Dominican. And he began to preach about Our Lady Guadalupe in the cathedral. Well, the cathedral was a big church. The Church of St. Francis in Mexico City was the biggest church. And there was a priest who had been in charge, but when we went from Franciscans to Dominicans, he started saying anybody who would promote Our Lady of Guadalupe should be horsewhipped. He said that to people at St. Francis Church, to a crowded church, right after the second bishop of Mexico had been preaching about Our Lady of Guadalupe. Friends, the inner fighting that we see in the church, you think it's brand new. You really need to get help if you believe that. It's been like this from the beginning. Okay, last thing. This is not the miraculous medal, okay? This is the medal of the Immaculate Conception. Our Lady, from the first moment of her life on earth until she breathed her last, was free from sin. From her Immaculate Conception, this is the medal of the Immaculate Conception. This is the medal of the Immaculate Conception. I am not the Immaculate Conception. You aren't either. Your children aren't either. Your grandchildren aren't either. I thought Father Tom gave a great talk about how confession helps us. Good, I can say this in less than a minute. In confession, Jesus gives you 5 things. Yeah. Well, what are they? Well, Jesus takes away sins, right? Okay, there you go. What are the other 4? In confession, Jesus makes you stronger. He makes you smarter. He makes you holier. He walks into your heart. He takes away your sins. True story. I was talking to a young man, 14 years old, and I was trying to get him to start going to confession. So I said to him, do you want Jesus to make you stronger? Yeah. Do you want Jesus to make you smarter? No answer. Do you want Jesus to make you smarter? Do you want Jesus? They taught us how to talk like that in the seminary. He said, well, yeah. No, he said, well, I'm already really smart. And you think you are the Immaculate Conception. Well, I'm already really holy and immaculate. Perfect. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us. I've got one last thing before, if I could. Outside there on a table is a plastic bag. Inside the plastic bag are 4 little bags. In each of the little bags, there's an exercise St. Benedict medal, some exercise salt, and some palm blessed in honor of St. Peter Martyr. You have to bless the palm on April 29th, his feast day. The holy cards are in English and in Spanish, right? So my friend, Father Wolf, the one I told you about earlier, he gave about 30 of these away to the Knights of Columbus when he was in Kansas City. And what you do is, if this is your property and your house is in the middle, you dig a hole about 1 foot down, and you put the bag, metal, salt, palm, all. You just put one little bag in the 4 corners of your property. So he gave it to 30 men, 30 Knights of Columbus, and it's to protect against hail, tornadoes, earthquakes, lightning strikes, all that stuff. So the 30 Knights of Columbus, they all lived in the same neighborhood. One guy did it. The others went home and put it in a drawer. What do you know? Kansas City, a tornado came through. All the houses are wiped off their foundations, and the trees are uprooted. One house is not damaged, even the trees. And Father Wolf didn't say it, but the next year that guy's property insurance doubled because all the houses around were destroyed. So I've got some of these at the back. If you want one, if you're in an apartment or a dorm room, you can put one bag on a thumbtack in the 4 corners. This is part of that deposit of the faith that Bishop Strickling won't shut up about. You need to pray for him, okay? Thank you.